There are so many different kinds of movies and stories that have the same basic scene of a king coming to adoring crowds outside of a castle or outside of a city. I mean, I could just name them off, like, well, obviously Return of the King from Lord of the Rings, or there's that weird scene in one of the old Star Wars movies where they're coming back while adoring crowds and getting like wreaths or something, I don't quite remember, or Shrek 2, or Princess Bride. Lots of these different kinds of stories that have this moment of triumph of a king coming back or coming for the first time into the king's kingdom and rule. And this is what's going on today in our 5-minute devotional in John chapter 12, verses 9 through 19 for Jesus. When the large crowd of the Jews learned that Jesus was there, they came not only on account of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests made plans to put Lazarus to death as well, because on account of him, many of the Jews were going away and believing in Jesus. The next day, the large crowd that had come to the feast heard that Jesus was coming to Jerusalem. So they took branches of palm trees and went out to meet him, crying out, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, even the King of Israel." And Jesus found a young donkey and sat on it, just as it is written, "Fear not, daughter of Zion. Behold, your king is coming, sitting on a donkey's colt." His disciples did not understand these things at first, but when Jesus was glorified, then they remembered that these things had been written about him and had been done to him. The crowd that had been with him when he called Lazarus out of the tomb and raised him from the dead continued to bear witness. The reason why the crowd went out to meet him was because they had heard he had done this sign. So the Pharisees said to one another, "You see, you are gaining nothing. Look, the world has gone after him." So a quick little note about the beginning of this section. The religious authorities who think Jesus is a threat realize that he's gaining popularity because he raised his friend Lazarus from the dead, and they have a solution. Well, let's just kill Lazarus. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, and you guys, most of you know this moment because we celebrate it in church every year on Palm Sunday. But it's the moment when Jesus comes riding on a donkey, which is symbolic of a leader coming in peace. If it was a horse, it'd be coming in war, but it's still symbolic of a king coming, as it was prophesied here from Zechariah. So he's coming and they're waving palm branches and literally saying, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, even the King of Israel." This is not at all an obscure thing that, well, are they saying he's the king? They're proclaiming him the king. Even the whole waving of palm branches thing is something that is from their own history of a couple hundred years ago, welcoming another ruling king or family into Jerusalem. So this is a very overt thing with a huge crowd. There's a reason why it's called the triumphal entry. It's triumphant. And so there are times when the culture, who wanted a Messiah right now, but there's times when culture might align with something that Jesus is doing. And that could end up being really popular for a moment in time. And this is one of those moments. The culture wanted a king. Jesus is coming as a king. Therefore, he's popular. Now, we'll see in the next few chapters if he ends up being the kind of king that they wanted, and if he stays popular. But the thing is, it's easy to follow him when you're going along with the crowd, when he's doing something that everybody wants anyway. And how easy is it going to be to follow him later? Well, we'll find out. We'll find out exactly how challenging it is for his disciples, and is Jesus going to give them even help with that, because it's too much for them? But just know that there are those times, and there are still those times when Jesus is doing and saying is popular and it's easy to go along with, and maybe times that's not like that. But today's the triumphant time, and the crowds, and the welcoming him as a king. And that's right, because he is our king. And we'll see more about what kind of a king he is in the coming chapters.